Yes, indeed. What's happening, world? Once again, with another controversial decisions. B Marsh Boxing. Check out my playlist right here on YouTube. Go to B Marsh Boxing. Go to my playlist, and you shall see controversial decisions. I got over 30 fights that I've covered. Controversial decisions, bad decisions, close fights, all kind of controversial decisions, all eras, all decades. And today we're going back to 2012. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're new to the channel. And we're going back to 2012. June of 2012. Manny Pacquiao versus Timothy Bradley. The first fight. Now they fought 3 times. They had a trilogy, as they should. You know what I mean? But Timothy Bradley, how did he get this fight? This guy, Timothy Bradley, had just signed to fight prior to this. He just signed a promotional deal with Bob Arum's Top Rank. Top Rank Promotions, okay? Timothy Bradley was supposed to be in negotiations with Amir Khan for basically an undisputed fight at light welterweight at 140 pounds, where Timothy Bradley came from, for all the marbles, for all the titles. But Timothy Bradley was looking for that Manny Pacquiao payday, especially since he signed with Top Rank, you know what I mean? So the fight before this fight, Timothy Bradley had fought a 40-year-old Joel Casamayor, and he stopped Joel Casamayor. You know, I was a big fan of the man Casamayor, you know what I mean? And I ain't gonna lie, I didn't like how that fight ended, you know what I'm saying? Timothy Bradley, you know, he gave him a beating and stopped him in the 8th round, you know what I'm saying? And that fight, I believe, was on Manny Pacquiao versus Juan Manuel Marquez 3, the third fight. A fight that I've covered right here on my YouTube page, on my controversial decisions, you know what I mean? If you want to know my opinions or what I thought about Juan Manuel Marquez versus Manny Pacquiao, the third fight, be my guest. Check it out on my playlist, you know what I mean? So, Timothy Bradley beats up a 40-year-old former lightweight champion in Joel Casamayor at 140 pounds. And Manny Pacquiao and Timothy Bradley, they got it on in June of 2012, you know what I mean? That fight beating Casamayor actually got him, and of course signing to Top Rank, got the man Timothy Bradley the Manny Pacquiao fight, as well as a deal with Nike. As you can see, with Timothy Bradley's trunks are sponsored by Nike, just like Manny Pacquiao's were in his heyday in 2012 when he was the #1 pound for pound fighter on the planet. All right, so let's get into it, man. What I thought about this fight. And the first round was a close round, as you can see. Timothy Bradley's boxing, using his jab, you know, throwing body shots. Manny Pacquiao is kind of off balance a little bit, you know what I'm saying? You know, he looks like he's leaping in. As you can see here, this is later in the round, but in the beginning, and you know, he was having trouble keeping his balance, you know what I mean? But Pacquiao, in the last 30 seconds of round one, Pacquiao lands some beautiful straight left hands. You might see one of the three, or you probably already just seen it, you know what I mean? And those were actually the best punches of the round. So round one was a close round due to all the work that Timothy Bradley did. But in the last minute, you could see Manny Pacquiao's punches are actually, you know, harder punches than the man Timothy Bradley's. And he landed the cleaner, more effective punches in the first round with those numerous flush lead left hands. Round two, Pac-Man straight left to the gut. Bradley's throwing punches, especially in the clinch. He throws at least like 10 punches in the clinch while hooking Manny Pacquiao's arm. I'm surprised the referee, I forgot the referee's name. You'll see him in a sec. I'm surprised the referee didn't stop Timothy Bradley from doing that. But, you know, Bradley's throwing more punches in round two, but he's actually missing more. Manny Pacquiao's landing more punches, but throwing less. So that's a round. Look at the straight left hands I was talking about in round one. All right, that's just a little quick highlight. So, yeah, I was saying in round two, Manny Pacquiao's throwing less, but he's landing more. You know what I mean? And I gave round two to Manny Pacquiao. Round three, Manny Pacquiao's throwing the lead left hands. Bradley's in trouble landing the straight right hand or even using it, even behind the jab. You know what I mean? A lot of the punches are being caught on Manny Pacquiao's gloves. You know what I'm saying? Manny Pacquiao will say this was one of his best defensive fights, in my opinion. You know, he really frustrated Timothy Bradley to the point Timothy Bradley was having trouble landing his left hand. I'm sorry, straight right hand. You know what I mean? And Manny Pacquiao's head movement was much better than Timothy Bradley's. You know, Timothy Bradley's, when he did anything good on defense, is basically like crouching low and getting low, like, and bending, just basically bending over rather than keeping his head on a swivel and moving it from side to side. Manny Pacquiao was very accurate with his left hand in the early first half of the fight, basically. You know what I mean? Because wherever Timothy thinks Timothy Bradley's going to shift his head to, Manny Pacquiao was throwing his punches right there and landing. You know what I'm saying? So round two, I gave it to Manny Pacquiao. Round three, well, I was in round three actually, yeah. So Pacquiao's left throws a nice left and right hook in the exchange, and Bradley counters with a left hook. But Pac-Man is landing his punches at a high accuracy and a high percentage in round three. Round four, Pac-Man is throws beautiful combination, a nice combo, yeah, very nice. You know what I mean? The hand speed was quite apparent, and the punching power in this fight. Who got the quicker hand speed? Who got the better footwork? And also who has the faster combinations and hand speed? You know what I mean? Manny Pacquiao throws a jab, a straight left, a jab, a straight left to the stomach, and a right hook that rocks the man Timothy Bradley, and it knocks the sweat beads off Timothy Bradley's head. Desert Storm Tim Bradley throws a straight right to the stomach. Bradley caught with the left hook to the body and the left to the head in an exchange. You know what I mean? And he gets wobbled. You know what I mean? Manny Pacquiao commences to throw a bunch of flurries. You know what I mean? Pac-Man combination punches and bunches, and Bradley has bad balance, especially when he gets caught with the left hook on top of the head, and he's trying to get the f up out of dodge, and that's where he twists his ankle severely in round four. You know what I mean? But he's in trouble. You know what I'm saying? But he does land a nice overhand right before the round ends. You know what I mean? That's another round I gave to Manny Pacquiao. Round five was a slow jab fest. You know what I mean? It was a jab fest, a slow pace for the first minute and a half. You know what I mean? Then Pac-Man catches Bradley with the fast, quick 1-2. And every punches that were landing significantly straight punches or even hooks were pushing the man Bradley back, as opposed to when Tim Bradley seldomly landed his punches, they weren't really having an effect on Manny Pacquiao. You know what I mean? So Pacquiao catches Bradley with a fast, quick 1-2. Bradley's now to retreat. Then Pacquiao throws another beautiful combo: a jab to the head and a straight left to the stomach. You know what I mean? A jab to the head and a straight left. A jab to the head and then a quick, like he crouches falling towards his right, but sneaks in a beautiful flush left hand, but from a crouching position, you know what I mean? And all these punches, and then he followed it up with a right hook. So it was a jab to the face, a nice combination crouching with the straight left hand, and then followed up by a right hook right behind it, you know what I mean? All the punches caught the man Timothy Bradley, you know what I mean? And Timothy Bradley throws a wide left hook, and Manny Pacquiao sneaks with another crouching left hand, you know what I mean? So Manny Pacquiao's varying up his combinations, you know what I'm saying, in that round, you know what I'm saying? And he's doing a good job of, you know, disguising his punches and setting up traps, you know what I mean? Okay, so round six was a close round, and the pace was favoring Timothy Bradley. He was more flat-footed, you know what I'm saying, rather than like what you see right now, you know what I mean, with a lot of movement. You know, he was boxing behind the jab, you know what I mean, throwing the straight right hand, you know what I mean, not landing very many punches, but he's more active than Pacquiao. Pac-Man looks like he's taking the round off, but he starts to let his hands go with a minute left in the round, and he catches Bradley with a straight left hand and a mean right hook to the body. You know what I mean? It was a close round, could have gone either way, but I gave that round, the first swing round, apart from round one, I gave that particular round to Tim Bradley. Round 7 was a close round as well. You know what I mean? Manny Pacquiao was, taking a round off in the first minute and a half. Then he starts letting his hands go. You know what I'm saying? And starts catching Bradley. Bradley's now in the retreat. You know what I mean? Rather than coming forward. And I gave that particular round to Manny Pacquiao. Bradley in round 8, he's not taking of Manny Pacquiao taking the first couple minutes off in the round. You know what I mean? Rather than pressing the action, then Pacquiao throws another nice combination, fast, punches and bunches. A jab to the head, a straight left to the gut, then another jab to the head. All three of the punches land, and all of them snap the man Timothy Bradley's head back. You know what I mean? Timothy Bradley catches Manny Pacquiao with a nice pull counter, straight right hand on the ropes. You know what I mean? To get out of trouble. You know what I'm saying? So round 9 is a back and forth exchanges. You know what I mean? Both guys are catching the punches on the glove. Two, Manny Pacquiao is landing more, and he's splitting the guard and knocking Timothy Bradley off of balance. You know what I mean? In round 9, you know what I'm saying? So that was the round I gave to Pacquiao. Round 10, Bradley's active. And he's not throwing hooks anymore or exchanges. He's now boxing beyond the jab, straight punches, doubling up the jab, throwing the straight right hand to the stomach or to the head, just keeping a safe distance, boxing from the outside. Manny Pacquiao got the high guard, not really letting his hands go in the last minute, but Timothy Bradley is boxing well. You know what I mean? And that's a round I gave to Timothy Bradley. Round 11, Timothy Bradley again is boxing from the outside, using the jab, throwing the one-twos. Pac-Man's not active, but he starts letting his hands go in the last minute, and he catches Timothy Bradley. You know what I mean? Round 12 was a close round. Bradley again is on his stick and move as he's been doing in round 10 and 11. Um, Pac-Man really not throwing money punches in the early first minute of round 12, but they start getting into exchange, and those exchanges are hard to tell who's really winning the exchanges because they were both landing and also they were blocking. But I gave it to Timothy Bradley for all the work he had done in the first 2 minutes of round 12. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I remember where I was when I watched this fight, man. I watched this fight in Washington, D.C. on U Street at Republic Gardens, you know what I mean? I remember that night we went out to party, but we said, before we go out to party, and I remember that weekend I had just copped the Jordan 12s, you know what I mean? And I was rocking them joints that night, man. I had to get fresh, stay dipped out there, you know what I mean? The playoff Jordan 12s, you know what I mean? More black with a little white. And we went to Republic Gardens, you know what I'm saying, on U Street in June, you know what I'm saying? And I remember we watched this fight with people up in the party, and everybody thought, including myself, a man who watches boxing and scores boxing fights, and I was watching it with a bunch. Maybe the guys, people in there were casuals, I don't know, but when they read the final decision, everybody looked at each other like, huh? What the hell? What? Who? What? So that was what happened that night. It was real crazy, man. I ain't gonna lie, you know what I mean? But this particular fight, I scored it personally 116 to 112, you know what I mean? At worst, 115 to 113, but there's no way in hell Timothy Bradley won this fight, in my opinion. I've watched this fight numerous times, and I decided to cover it tonight, you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? To rescore the fight, and I still didn't see Timothy Bradley winning this fight. I've always had it 7 rounds to 5 or 8 rounds to 4. You know, today covering, I had it 8 rounds to 4, but I could see there was a swing round, and if I gave one of those swing rounds, particularly maybe round 7, which was a close round, if I gave it to Tim Bradley at worst on my scorecard, it would be 7 rounds to 5. You know what I mean? So I didn't like the way they scored this fight. You know what I'm saying? Two judges had it in favor of Timothy Bradley, 115-113, and one judge had it in favor of Manny Pacquiao, 115-113, 7 rounds to 5, you know what I'm saying? Um, Harold Letterman's scorecard, the HBO unofficial scorer, had this fight wide. Now, I didn't agree with his scorecard. He had it 11 rounds to 1 in favor of Manny Pacquiao. You know what I'm saying? I didn't agree with this scorecard, but I do agree Manny Pacquiao won this fight. Emmanuel Stewart was in shock. He was like, man, I actually, this is what he said. I have no comment because I'm confused. I don't know what to say, man. Because, You know, just the power punching. This ain't the amateurs, you know what I mean? Not to mention Timothy Bradley threw punches, but a lot of them weren't landing. Manny Pacquiao kept a tight defense in this fight, you know what I mean? Didn't take any damage, was smiling and having fun, you know what I'm saying? Even smiling and talking to the commentators, to Lampley and them, you know what I'm saying? And Max Kellerman and Emmanuel Stewart, you know, while he was fighting. So it was a bad decision, you know what I'm saying? And I'm glad they fought two more times. Timothy Bradley's only losses in his career are three losses, and they're all the Manny. I'm sorry, the two losses are to Manny Pacquiao. I don't think he's lost to any other guys, to be honest. I think he has only two losses. You know what I'm saying? I thought he lost this fight. Timothy Bradley was a very good fighter, especially at 140 unified. You know what I mean? But you gotta call a spade, and you gotta judge fights with a clean heart. You know what I mean? And he has only two losses in his career. Should have been three. I thought he lost this particular fight, but that's neither here nor there because Manny Pacquiao got his redemption. You know what I mean? He got the 2014. This is 2012 when this fight happened. They fought in 2012, 2014, a fight where Bradley was up in the first 4 or 5 rounds, actually 4 rounds, and he lost every single round after that. You know what I'm saying? Started acting like he's a power puncher, Rocky Marciano type stuff, and he fought the wrong game plan. I think Timothy Bradley, if he just boxed, see all them punches, then he twisted his ankle right there. Bank! He twisted his ankle right there, you know what I mean? You know, it was getting caught with a barrage of punches, you know what I'm saying? Um, if Timothy Bradley boxed behind the jab like he's doing right there, as you can see, you know what I'm saying? He's not landing as many. You know, he's flicking out his jab, keeping Manny Pacquiao honest, you know what I'm saying? And vary up the punch variation, you know what I mean? You know, throw hooks when you have to, but don't not in exchanges because you ain't going to win hooking with the hooker with Manny Pacquiao who has more power than you. Hook, but stick and move, you know what I mean? Don't just stay there in front of the guy. I think he could have won this fight easily, you know what I mean? Not easily, let me take that back. Not easily, but at least won the fight at least 7 rounds to 5. But they gave it to him 7 rounds to 5. I didn't think he won the fight, but I'm just talking about if he had to beat Pacquiao in the second fight or the third fight, just box beyond the jab. He does it and try and nullify Manny Pacquiao's left hand. You know what I'm saying? You know, try and nullify Pacquiao's left hand by moving towards your left. You know what I'm saying? Move towards your left, make Manny Pacquiao have to reach, and then you have to be ready to counter and make him pay for all the misses. But he ain't do that. But they thought he did that. At least one, two judges did. It is what it is. But B March Box, leave your thoughts and comments. Let me know how you guys saw this fight. I had it for Manny Pacquiao, 116, 112 at worst. If I gave one particular swing round, like maybe round one or was it round 6 or 7? If I gave one of those rounds to Timothy Bradley, it would be 7-5 at worst on my scorecard. But the victory in favor of Manny Pacquiao. B March Box, leave your thoughts and comments, and I'm out of here. Peace.